Okay. So
Why did I come to the US?
Yes.
Well, I was a year in England as a nanny with a very famous writer and his actress wife. I lived in
What were their names?
Their names were Ruth and William Sansom. I still have some of his books in the bookshelf.
I had never heard this, that you
haven't?
lived with a famous actor.
Yeah. And we lived in St. John's Wood, which was a very, very nice, not really a suburb, part of London. Saw a lot of London, went to a lot of concerts. I had two very good friends. One was Helga Schlüter, she was from Hamburg, and the other one was Wiltrud von Richthofen. And she had the super nanny job because she worked for one of the McLean families who owned Guinness.
Ah.
So we quite often, we spent a lot of time on our free time. We'd go to concerts and we'd go sightseeing and we'd go to the seaside and we did an awful lot of things. I was there for a whole year and then I went back to Deutschland. And one of my friends had a connection through the Experiment in International Living, which was an exchange group that actually was only working for, was supposed to have Americans come to Germany for their summer vacation and Germans go to America. But we didn't have very many, we didn't have 3 months worth of summer vacation. We only had like, 6 weeks at the most. So there was one group of the Experiment that the Experiment had of a group of women here in Washington, and it was really, it was through the Experiment that we came here, but we also didn't just stay 3 months, we stayed a year. And I came to a family named the Sarnoffs. They were related to David Sarnoff, who was the president and inventor of RCA television. My friend Beate Bonn was at a house called, at a family named the Fishers. And there were about 5 or 6 women. And we all got together and we met various people, and I guess one day we met somebody. We went out for a concert or something, and a fellow named Bill Granville invited me out, and I was going because I could drive the cars.
On a date.
On a date. He invited me on a date, and because I could drive, I had a car to drive, not my own, but a family car. I went to pick him up because he didn't have a car, and he happened to live at Dad's house. I mean, with the McManuses on Branch Avenue.
Grandma.
With Grandma. So he didn't show up. So Dad took me out, and we went to Armed Forces Day out at Andrews Air Force Base. And that was the beginning.
That was a spontaneous date. He just thought of that off the top of his head.
Well, the guy, Bill, didn't show up, so Dad said, well, I'll take you.
But that's not where Bill was going to take you, so Dad just thought...
he was going to, I don't know what we were going to do, maybe go downtown or...
Did Bill ever find out that he lost out on dating you?
Yeah, I saw him afterwards because he's, as I said, he lived at Grandma's house, but he did move out from there, and he lived with a couple of guys. So anyway.
So do you remember what time of year that was that you met Dad?
Oh yeah, it was Armed Forces Day is out at Andrews Air Force Base is in March or April, one of those, when they have the big show out there.
And then
could have been Memorial Day, but I think it was earlier than that.
So then you...
And then, he and Frank then joined the group of Beate and Helga and all of us and other guys that they knew, and we never had any money, so we would go to each other's houses, and the Yarminskis had a pool, so we went there and we went to concerts, and then Beate had met a Hungarian fellow named Farkas Karnoki, and his aunt was a restaurator with the with the local gallery here, picture gallery here. Mm-hmm. And she had a house in Georgetown, and we would always meet there for Saturdays or Sundays and have a little party and make music, and so it was very nice.
So that was in the spring, and then when did you marry Dad? Like a year and a half later?
Oh, I went back to Deutschland in November of that year, and I stayed in Deutschland until March of the next year, but I already had a ring.
Really?
This ring.
Before you left, you had a ring?
Yes, before I left, I had a ring. And Dad wrote me lots of letters in Deutschland, and I wrote him a lot of letters. And then I came back in March. Yeah, came back to America in March. And Dad was still at Georgetown, but we saw each other practically every other day. Mm-hmm. And I would pick him up at school, and we'd have not really a beer. I never did drink beer. And we'd go out and do things because he went to night school at Georgetown, and
he was a butcher during the day.
Oh no! He was a butcher once for a few weeks in high school, I think.
Well, what was his job?
He was he had a proofreading job, and he had some other kinds of jobs. Okay. He worked for a friend of ours digging ditches when I was still at the Sarnoffs. His friend had a landscaping business, and he helped him out for a few weeks. And
okay, so back to this timeline of getting married. Did you get married that September or the fall?
We got married September of '59, which was a year and 3/4 after I came to America.
Okay.
I came January 1, 1958, and we got married September 12, 1959.
Okay. And
a week after Dad graduated from Georgetown.
Ah. And did you go on a honeymoon? I forget.
No, we didn't have any money.
Okay.
We went, one of Dad's friends, his dad, Mr. Malkin Sr., handed Frank $10 and said, "Do take your wife out for dinner." So we went to Georgetown, and we had tomato soup and something. That was a honeymoon dinner. But we already had the apartment at 39th Street.
Oh.
I had rented it, and I lived there. And so we could go back there after our wedding, which was a big wedding at the Sheraton Park. We went back to our house after the reception, and all our good friends came to the apartment, and we partied on.
Okay. And did you have a honeymoon, like a delayed honeymoon?
No.
Okay.
Well, we did things after that. I mean, Karen came the year after, and we would go to the beach, sometimes go to Rehoboth during the day for one day. And we had always lots of parties.
And the rest is history.